Rayman. Ever since I was a small child, playing my PlayStation, I would dabble with this particular character. I remember his games being solid, the first one being brutal. 2D, 3D, yes. When I wasn't playing Grass or Spyro, you would very likely see me hooked in front of the TV playing Rayman. Now, this game has been released a ton of times. Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Dreamcast, PC, I own it digitally, PlayStation 2 as an enhanced port, Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, and finally iOS, which doesn't have a cover, but the version that I'll be looking at will be the PC version, which was released at cog.com for $5.99. It's also available on Uplay, but who the hell uses Uplay? Standard fare, not exactly Metal Gear Solid here. You are Rayman, this creature without arms or legs. Yet that somehow still has feet and hands. I guess passing around wouldn't be too much fun. You start out imprisoned in a pirate ship, but thanks to the help of your friend Glowbox and the Silver Lamb, you quickly escape. After getting used to the controls and saving up a bunch of creatures in a cage known as Tindies, creatures of immense power over dimensions that somehow can break through a metal crate, you move through levels. After talking with Weed the fairy, your goal is set. You must collect 4 elemental masks to wake up Pollucus, which created the entire world in which Raymond stands, and is fast asleep, of course, while the world is attacked by robot pirates. You eventually do that, saving your friend Glowbox once again, and you wake up Pollucus, which instantly destroys every pirate on the ground. But he can't do anything about the pirates in the flying airship of the final boss, leading to what I ultimately consider the weakest part of the game. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because to arrive at the final boss you'll have to trek through 19 levels first, swimming, jumping, running, and even flying at one point, and things do start to get tricky as you move on. Rayman himself has a very simple control scheme. Most of the game can be played with 2 buttons plus the direction pad, or keys in my case. He jumps, having a helicopter glide if the jump button is pressed again in midair. He shoots projectiles, and that's pretty much it. If he's on water, he can dive and swim, returning to the surface, and he can move in all directions. This is a 3D game after all. I guess I could mention his climbing. That's something, right? Whether it's a web, a vine, or between 2 crevices, Rayman can climb. If between 2 crevices, by repeatedly jumping, if climbing a wall, by pushing up. If there is one thing that will notice immediately upon first starting, is how big and wide open the areas are. There are some levels where this doesn't apply, and it's just sort of on a race against time, but for most of the time you have wide open areas. Crash Bandicoot eats your heart out. You will quickly notice one thing, however. Rayman is slow, unlike, say, the Italian plumber. He doesn't have a run button, and while his animation seems to show that he isn't walking but rather running, well, as much as you can run with no legs, the vastness of the levels only makes this problem worse. Even later on, when you get into more maze-like levels, looking at you, Sanctuary of Stone and Fire, with levels that take so long to explore, a huge part of it is backtracking at that speed, and the problems don't end there. When landing from a helicopter jump, Rayman takes sort of a bit of stumble, almost as if setting himself up not to fall. It pauses the game, and there were several times when I got hit by an enemy bullet down below that I could plainly see because of the landing. It's a design choice, but one that still gets me. Whatever I may say about how slow he moves, however, the main control feels responsive and tight. At the press of a button, he jumps instantaneously. The shooting is fun and responsive, and the way it bounces off walls makes it so. In the rare cases where I could, rebounding projectiles into enemies from a wall felt pretty satisfactory to pull off. The strafing mechanic and auto walking also tend to work perfectly, even if spamming the shoot button won't lead to good results, which is good as it makes combat less mindless. Besides the main control features, there do exist some gimmicks, but some of the stage gimmicks do tend to get annoying. I'm looking at you, Water Planting Sanctuary of Fire. Overall, this game has more good than bad, but the bad parts are despicable. I despise the walking cell. The concept is simple. It's just a guided missile. It's constantly moving forward. But its placement. The first few times it's not so bad. Lots of space to do a turn if you mess up. But my voting, voice where I died the most in the entire game, had to be related to this game. There's a cell, and there's a series of tight corridors which you have to navigate through, and avoid getting crushed against a wall. Another bad part, the Sanctuary of Stone and Fire. You have to use those plum fruits that are purple to surf across lava, and it's a labyrinth. It drags and drags. I've taken more than 20 minutes to beat this level on several occasions, and I know where to go! The plum fruit also starts to disappear if you stay in the lava for too long, so careful. The music for that stage is pretty good at least. In fact, the whole soundtrack is pretty good. It has this dark, eerie vibe, like you're stepping on an adventure. My favorite things being the Sanctuary of Stone and Fire and Cave of Bad Dreams. So maybe I just like the Sanctuary of Stone and Fire because I listen to it so much. Along the way, you'll be collecting these creatures known as worms, which are spread out across the levels. Most of the times it's pretty straightforward. You see one up in the air, use your previously mentioned ability of helicopter gliding to catch it. And doing that will allow you to collect every single yellow worm, which nets you minigames at the end of the stage. Yes, I said most of the time, as sometimes there are secret exits to routes in the area levels not accessible until much later in the game. When you can access them, it's obvious, and once you situate yourself and have gotten everything, you automatically complete those previous stages, 100%. But you aren't warned about it. Expect your first playthrough of those stages to be spent in confusion, wandering, trying to locate that missing one. The game is riddled with numerous moments where it gets this group of young worms or die to reset, to a point where you can try again. The third level, the marshes, is particularly guilty of this. But I also have it out for the numerous fights that you must do at Rayman. They are fun, yes, but they are do or repeat situation if I ever saw one. Besides the yellow worm, you can collect red worms, which will get you health, blue worms, which act as air bubbles, allowing you to swim for a bit longer underwater, green worms, which are checkpoints if you die you respawn there, purple worms, which after getting the corresponding power let you connect to them and grab your way through them. Speaking of silver worms, those are the ones that give you extra powers in the game. Oh, the final boss. Oh, the final boss. You have this. You are riding a cell in the air and you can move the camera every time you do a turn. I don't know who thought it was a good idea, but several times during the final boss, it would make me lose my sense of direction or cross into a wall. Luckily, you have infinite retries, and the PS1 version is completely different, of course. That's the one I play the most. So there's that. But overall, is it a good game? Yes, I believe so. It's my favorite game of all time. It's up there with Jet Set Radio. I haven't even mentioned the graphics, which while dated today were amazing for the standards of 1999. Cartoony, bright, but gloomy when they wanted them to be. Ubisoft's main talent has always been art direction. Most of the time. And there's a reason the company had re-released this game 6 or 7 times. It's just a good game.